every morning.
Ayubowan. As humans, we focus mostly about humans. And we talk about humans, we do things about humans, and we do everything in this world we think it's for humans, and we adapt it for the betterment of humans. But today we have an interesting guest, who has thought a little bit beyond that. It's even though scientifically we look same, but there is something beyond that. We have an interesting personality here today who was born in Sri Lanka, but for whatever the reason, at the age of 16, he had to go to another part of the world. And after 47 years, he's back here in Sri Lanka. And welcome to our today's program. He's Bala Amarasekaran. Welcome, Bala. You're back to Sri Lanka after, I think, 47 years, if I'm not mistaken it. And how does it feel to come back to Sri Lanka after 47 years?
Ayubowan, Vanakkam. I'm so very happy that I have come back after all these years. It's the work I was doing in Africa was so demanding, and Sierra Leone, where I am settled down, it also has gone through some very volatile times, and I couldn't find a reason to abandon post. I couldn't come here. If I would have started coming here, probably there were a million reasons to abandon that project, and I couldn't do it. And it's a commitment, it's a lifelong commitment I had to make, and I followed that dream and the commitment I made. That's what kept me not coming back. But when I came back, as if time never passed, the way people received me, the well-known, the hospitality, the Sri Lankan hospitality really engulfed me in a quick way, where I felt that I'm home. So it's not really coming to another foreign land, although I left very young, 47 years have gone, but coming home has been very pleasant, very welcoming, and I'm thankful to everyone who looked after me during this trip.
Okay, today you are a global wildlife conservation icon in the world known, and I think you didn't even imagine that you will be like that when you left Sri Lanka at 16 years ago. When you left Sri Lanka, what was your dreams like then? Where do you started it from?
I don't think I had any dreams at the time. It was more like my parents got a job to move to Sierra Leone to work there. And as part of the package, the contract, the kids under 16 were offered a ticket. So it was basically, I said, okay, let me go check it out, what happens, where my parents are there. I got there and I saw so much similarity between Sri Lanka and Sierra Leone. The way the people are, the kind of climate, the kind of vegetation around you. I think something resembles so much like I'm going away from home to another home. I felt that way. And, it started with education first, but then, things started to happen. Then, of course, I met my chimps. So there was nothing like I dreamt for something. I went into it. It was a plain canvas. I was just beginning to paint, and it got bigger and bigger, and I kept painting, and that's it.
That's interesting. Yeah. What sparked you for the love of wildlife and conserving wildlife, and especially chimpanzees? And do you think is there any turning point that triggered you towards this area?
I actually consider myself as an accidental conservationist.
Okay.
I was trained in finance. I was an accountant working. Then I happened to come across a very ailing, poor chimp, and I decided to save this chimp and bring him home. And that's where everything started. Yes, I could have kind of brought this chimp back to health and given it over or handed it over to someone. But it didn't happen, because when I started living with the chimpanzee at home, I was beginning to understand that we've been very ignorant about such an intelligent species, so much like us. We share 98.7% of our genetic genome. It is that way. We are that close. I mean, it's mind-blowing to even to think a chimpanzee is more related to humans than to a gorilla or to an orangutan. So that shows how close we are. And you begin to understand they have the same emotions, same love, jealousy, and everything, mimic so much like humans. And I felt that I had the opportunity to work with a species that was so much like us, and I wanted to do something in return. We felt that as humans, as intelligent as we may claim, but are we intelligent enough to understand there is a species that is so much like us and we are not taking care of them? So that's what probably brought me more and more into this conservation work. So yes, I didn't plan to do this. It happened by an accident, but I held on to it.
Okay, so Takugama, that's what Bala is, we can say, the creator of Takugama, like which started back in 1995 at your home, like just trying to save a chimpanzee. And like, can you just explain what is Takugama today?
Well, actually the sanctuary started at home, because when I started rescuing the first chimp, there were another one. So between 1989 and 83, something like that, I've had like 7-8 chimpanzees at home. Okay. I was looking after them. I was like the public enemy number one around there, because the chimps are very destructive. They escape, they go into neighboring compounds, they damage things. That kind of time dawned on me. I got to do something more nationally rather than, some idiot looking after 7-8 chimps at home. So I sold the idea to the government, and also probably the famous primatologist Dr. Jane Goodall. She happened to come to Sierra Leone to see me, and we kind of sat together and thought probably we need to do something more as a species rather than Bala looking after 7-8 chimpanzees. And this is what brought me into doing something bigger, something more meaningful, something more in collaboration with the government. So that is how it evolved. So initially it started like that. Then government's commitment was to provide a 100-acre piece of land within the Western Area Forest Reserve where we could set up camp so the government can enforce the wildlife laws. And these rescued chimpanzees can be brought to this orphanage where we could look after and we can rehabilitate them. So the name Takugama might sound very singular, Gama.
Yes.
Right? It is. A lot of people ask me whether it's because I'm Sri Lankan, I made it Takugama. It's not really, but it so happened it came that way. There is a smallest fish near to the sanctuary that lived in 2 streams nearby, and it's called Tekui. And the people, the local people call it Takugama. That is like a settlement next to a stream with that fish. Okay. But it's just a coincidence that it sounded like Gama.
Like Sri Lankan
yes,
Gama.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that is how the Takugama name, it used to be Takugama, but I'm telling more and more Takugama now,
Gama.
after being to Sri Lanka.
Okay. So like now today, Takugama is a global name, like people know it, a brand, and like there are a lot of foreigners comes to Takugama to experience your can you just explain in brief, like what is Takugama today? Like,
although set up to be an orphanage looking after rescued chimps, but we quickly realized that if you stuck at Takugama and just keep receiving orphan chimps, rescued chimps, you are basically addressing to the symptom, to a problem. The problem is outside there, where the wildlife is. Why you need to find out the reason behind why these chimps are brought to the sanctuary. What is happening in the wild? How do we protect them in the wild so that they don't keep coming into orphanage? Orphanage won't be able to take over 5,000-6,000 chimps. You can't. So it's got to be a parallel running program. As much as you are taking care of the ones that are arriving, you need to do something more for the ones that are outside. So that is how, with time, we have evolved into a fully fledged conservation program. There are several components. We have research, education, livelihood components, community development. All this is part of the package. Otherwise, if you don't approach this holistically, you will fail, because you are not really doing much in terms of looking after a few chimps without focusing on protecting their future. I mean, we need to protect the species for posterity, And that's very important for us too. That is how it has evolved over the years.
Yeah, like a youth at the age of 16 from Jaffna, like leaving Sri Lanka, going to Sierra Leone, and starting a sanctuary like in Sierra Leone, like starting from scratch, from zero, and getting the government support and everything and bringing it to where it is today. Like, what were the challenges you had to go through at the initial stage to bring it to where it is today?
I think the initial challenge was when I went there, I was 16 and I was not into conservation. As I said, I studied, I worked as an accountant. But then when I started rescuing the first chimp and the other chimps, my main focus or challenge was to look for people in that field, people who are into conservation, people who are into species protection, environmental protection. But we had a lot of academics, but they were academics. They are not prepared to go into something that is more challenging, and it can be a lifelong commitment. So there were people giving you advice, but nobody wants to step into setting up a sanctuary. So I approached some international partners at that time. I have this idea, we need to do something, find someone. Again, the same story. They said, we don't find anyone committed enough to do something like that. You have been with chimps all these years now at your home. Probably you have the passion. Maybe we can give you some seed money and you can start something. But it came with a condition. They said, if we want to finance something, it's got to be you running the show. My idea was finding the money and getting the government and get the right conservationists to do it. But no one was coming forward. So, it's like I had to make a decision one day, and I just told myself, you know what, that's what needs to happen. I need to quit from my profession and do something for the chimps. I bloody well do it. And that's what I did.
Okay, so like when it comes to Sierra Leone, I think you were during the civil war at Sierra Leone. Like I think there might be a tough time during that period. So like what was the challenges? How did you overcome the challenges which you had to go through during the civil war in Sierra Leone?
Yeah, it was a very, very difficult time. We kind of live day to day, I would say, because you don't know, because we were caught up between the rebel lines and the government lines, so that we were in a no-man area most of the time. The sanctuary actually came under attack 2-3 times. We survived it. But whether it's rebels or government forces or whatever, end of the day, I felt they're all human beings. So both ways, you need to still talk. When the rebels come through, you tell them that, look, even if you win, you need a place like this to show that you've done some for conservation. It's the same thing for the government. You beg them every day, we are not harboring any rebels here, so don't bomb this place. So it was a difficult, tough time during the time, but I think we were very resilient. We felt that we took so much time and effort to build a sanctuary, you can't just let it go. And I cannot boast about if we would have done anything different, no, because when you work with chimpanzees, there's a very thin line between you and them. So they became part of my family. Once it becomes like that, I mean, Sri Lanka has a history of going through war. You don't abandon your wife and children and you escape somewhere. You make sure you stand and protect your family. I found myself more in a situation like that, where I was made to understand, or I felt that I cannot abandon the chimps. So even during the worst times, we kept going. We kept going, and we did the right thing. Otherwise, we won't be here by now. Yes.
Okay, like I think there is something, it's not something like there is more to go through these interesting stories from Bala. Like we'll go for a short break and come back with something interesting. You have to listen to this.
Every morning.
Okay, let's dive deep into what's there at Takugama. Like I think whatever said and done, challenges are part and parcel of our life. Like whatever we do, it's there. Like maybe from the humble beginnings, like all the efforts, challenges, what you went through, there is a different era and that's a different level. But still, today up to now, I think you might have some challenges. What do you think is the challenges which still are you going through, which you still find it challenging to overcome?
I think the biggest challenge is created by us, humans. That's the biggest challenge. Just like here or even Far East and Africa, our environment is under huge threat. We want to develop in a fast way, but not sustainably. Most of our forests are going, most of our environment is being damaged. A lot of species are disappearing right before our eyes. That is a huge challenge. As much as now humans, yes, we want to develop ourselves, but as you know, we are in an era, we understand climate change and all these problems happening. We are still not wise enough. We are still continuing with the same policies. A lot of lip service by the stakeholders and people at higher levels in the government. But when it comes to really looking at what's happening to our environment, it's really, I would say, it's alarming in a way, because I live in a country where we have just got probably about 5% of our primary forest standing. The rest of it is gone, and it is still going. So if the governments don't prioritize some of their policies and to understand that there are some areas that need to be protected, I think we are going into a pitfall that it will be difficult to get out. It's difficult. Now people are talking about reforestation and getting environment back. It's very difficult to bring it back once you destroy it. So this is the major challenge. Yes, so that's something we are facing, and also sometimes we live in countries, sometimes the challenges with, like, there are entities, there are departments there to protect your wildlife and your environment, but sometimes they are not functioning well. So you also sometimes in confrontation with people, you want to help, but at the same time you're also facing a lot of challenge and resistance because they are looking at short term. They're thinking about something they could do fast. It doesn't happen like that. So these are one of the major challenges, I would say.
Okay.
It is human made challenges more than something done by wildlife.
Okay. And like sometimes not only we talked about the civil war, you were think that is man-made problems.
Yes.
And like I think sometimes what I have heard is like chimpanzees sometimes like behave violently. Like I think you might have some very good experience into how chimpanzees behave and like how violent they are sometimes. And like, can you just explain something about that and how you overcame that challenges?
Well, I didn't overcome. It's a matter of accepting they are not different from us. Look at us
Okay.
humans. We are more violent, probably.
Yeah, sometimes we are like.
It's not sometimes, most times. I mean, most of the animals I worked with, or the ones we encounter, I haven't come across any species that enjoy killing. Humans do.
Okay. Yeah, that's
So there
true.
is a huge difference between that. I mean, other animals might kill something because they are hungry. There's a purpose to eat. I went through a rebel war where, people were killed just to send a message to the government that we'll continue to kill. So people enjoyed killing people. Only humans can do that. Chimps don't. For me, again, when you say violence, something I learned, they can be very violent, but they also reconcile very fast. That is something humans, we don't have it. We carry grudges.
Yeah,
We keep it for very long time. This is something I learned very fast, something chimpanzees taught, that you can have conflict, but you need to resolve, you need to reconcile, you have to get back and turn a new page. This is something I learned from them. So I don't really focus on the violent side because we are just like them. We are very violent. I mean, we went through a civil war here, and we went through a civil war in Sierra Leone, and both countries lost over 100,000 people. This is humans killing humans, right? So it's like we had an incident many years ago. There was an escape. About 30-something chimps escaped from the sanctuary.
Okay.
And they came into contact with some strange people, and a couple of people got injured. And every time I go to a television interview and they will ask that again and again, this happened, how are you going to mitigate if there is a problem like that? My answer always is that, look, just 10 years ago we had rebels walking into Freetown and killing 6,000 people in 2 weeks. We are not talking about it. As humans, we are prepared to turn a page quickly because it's about humans doing something to humans. We are not comfortable talking about it for too long. But when animal does something, then it's news. We want to talk about it. So it's kind of double standards by us.
That's true.
Yes.
Yeah, that's actually like, even though we think that we are superior, like I think there is everywhere we have the nature, the so environment teaches us a lot, like so we can learn from that. And like I think now, if you talk about Takugama, it's a global name, recognized name today, and like, can you explain some like about the rewarding moments in your journey?
I think when it started as an orphanage, chimpanzee was considered to be just another monkey. But with 30 years of work, now we got the government to recognize that our work has been at a very high level for a poor country like Sierra Leone. And I think probably the most rewarding moment is getting the government to declare the chimpanzee as Sierra Leone's national animal. And this happened about 4 or 5 years ago. And that is probably the icing on the cake, I would say, because government listens to you and they understand that there's so much conservation work is going on. And we also managed to sell the idea, it's not just the chimpanzee, because when you protect chimpanzee and protect the environment, it's not the chimpanzee that we are protecting. It's about all the other animals in that ecosystem. So we are running a wildlife program, but we are keeping the chimpanzee as the lead candidate there, in terms of we are focusing on the chimp, but everything else around that is benefiting. So that is something good, and also we got the government, the Department of Tourism, to declare the chimpanzee as the face of tourism. Okay. In fact, we got to a level now in our new biometric passport, chimpanzee is featured in many pages. That is again to show that the country is really, linking or at least rebranding itself as a destination for wildlife conservation. So these are some of the achievements I will be proud of.
Yeah, so like if you actually look at it, like you, a Sri Lankan born person going to Sierra Leone and like achieving, like how do you call it? Like you can say that like your efforts made Sierra Leone to declare chimpanzee as the national animal. I think that is something wonderful. Like, how do you feel about that achievement?
Well, I think I was lucky, I would say, because
Okay.
I was in a place where probably not too many people were spearheading something like that. Probably would have been different. Maybe if I was in Sri Lanka, probably there are many better candidates than Bala. Maybe they could have done more, I don't know. But I look at it as I was in the right place at the right time, and I was committed to whatever I was trying to do. And I think it paid off at some point.
I think like, because there are like, if you talk about it, like there are many people who are interested, but only very few are committed.
Yes.
I think you are one of them.
Correct. I was always telling that with what we went through in Sierra Leone over the years, that I had a million reasons to quit, but I did not. That's the key message, that when you are passionate about something, that you really want to see it through, you got to be resilient, you need to be, stick with it. And that's what I did. I didn't give up. I never even thought one day, even when we had the rebel war, there have been cases where we were not sure whether sanctuary will survive the next day. But we still lived with the hope that we will turn the page the next day. And so that kept us going. Yeah.
Okay, so basically like today, like you collaborate with global organizations, and Takugama is today a big setup, and like it's doing a great service to the entire planet. Like, so what are the key lessons do you think which you can share it to Sri Lankans in terms of wildlife conversation and like on related to environment and whatever, like for our planet, what can we do?
I think it's not just Takugama. I think all of us, every individual can make a difference. I think Takugama is making a difference in Sierra Leone. I think it's more about keeping a clean brand. That's the most important thing. Make sure you run an institution build your credibility, let people know whatever small or big you do, do it right. Make sure that you have that right ethics behind what you do. Make sure there is no corruption in your institution. Make sure you fight. I mean, we have, not just me, I have groomed so many people, they are all becoming like activists, not in a violent way, but we need more people to, bring it out, more people to stand up to certain things. I mean, it can be a simple thing. Maybe there is a huge, beautiful tree right in the center of your village or town, and suddenly someone decides to cut it down. But I think we need more people to stand up and say, no, you can't do this, because this is something we grew up with. So as I said, every individual can make a difference in their own way, and I am making something in a very small way. I really don't consider that I'm an icon or the Takugama has become some sort of something different from the others. It's just that we continue to do what we can do in our small way. And
I think because sometimes it's more like you can call it causes harm than people who do wrong.
Yes.
Like people who see someone is doing wrong and keeping silent, I think that does more harm. So I think
it is.
We need to raise
Exactly.
where it is required and whatever in our capacity, not that everything we can do it. So I think that's a great lesson. And you often talk about the link between wildlife conservation and human well-being. Can you explain how saving chimpanzees can help humans?
Because when you live in a poor country, I think it's very difficult to sell the message of conservation when people are hungry. I mean, end of the day, you can go and preach to the villager about chimpanzee and how similar they are to us. We need to protect their homes. How about his child? He's got to send, this poor farmer has to send his child to school. He has to take care of his child's health. So if we don't do things in parallel, just like my policy has been, if you find the money to look after chimpanzee conservation, you better also find the money to find money for people alongside. Because you cannot practice conservation when people are hungry. You need to look at both sides. So every single program we run, there is a component for community development. So what we do is make them understand that they are also benefiting through conservation. So it's like we are working with an organization, they are on wash projects, they dig wells and provide water. But for me, it's a good idea, but it doesn't really send a message. So wherever we are providing water, I'm against drilling a borehole. What I do is I find a forest where the river is flowing, we bring the water by gravity and make a connection with the village, make them understand this water will keep coming as long as that forest is standing. So we sign an agreement between the village chief and us and the organization that is helping. So by doing that, you're making a connection. That is more long term. People will know that they will continue to receive the water that is helping the people simply because that forest is standing. So like that, we also build schools. Why we build the schools? Because there are remote areas. We never build a school in town. Doesn't make any sense. So we need to go and identify a forest that has wildlife, but they don't have facilities like a good school. So that is where we will fight to go and build a school. So they understand that government has failed in providing a school. But this organization has come and given us a school simply because we have chimpanzees in our forest. And we send the message. The moment the chimpanzees are gone, our support to the schools also ends. So that is one way of demanding both ways. It's not one way. We are happy to help you, but you have to make sure that it's been appreciated in a way that you're protecting your environment.
Yes. I think because this is all about an ecosystem which we have to work hand in hand and not only focusing on one. Looking at that, I think Sri Lanka has its own conservation challenges and problems and situations. Sometimes we find it difficult to address it. What advice would you give it to Sri Lanka? I know sometimes during a short visit here to Sri Lanka, and the other one is about 47 years ago, that a long time ago. Like, what is the advice you think you can give it to conservationists, like going through challenges in wildlife conservation?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm here to give any advice. I think you're running a very good program here. I'm really happy with what I saw in your national parks and all. One observation, probably it's not an advice. I felt that some of the national parks I visited, I felt that the humans are really chasing the animals to go and see them. I feel they are not left to roam free, because sometimes I've been to some of the parks where just to see 5 elephants, there are 30, 40 vehicles surrounding them, and everybody wants to take a picture, something like that. What happens with that is that once the animals begin to be in such close contact with humans, they are slowly being habituated. When that happens, they are losing fear of humans. So if you look back, maybe if you look at your father's time or your grandfather's time, probably you won't go close to an elephant. Now the elephant is happy to be in so close proximity with you. But what happens is, when these vehicles are not there, the elephants leave and go to the next village. They don't have the fear. They think it's the same humans. They met us probably a couple of hours ago in the park.
And also
There's another setup.
And also they like get used to like human foods. Like sometimes I see like biscuits and stuff, like
that is
people
true.
food.
And they're looking for that. Once you get the taste of it, so some of these problems are caused by us. So that is something I observed. I thought probably as much as you need the resources to run these parks, but I think you have to be a little bit more careful in terms of what kind of impact people could cause if you leave large numbers of people going at one time. Maybe you need to have some very strict rules, maybe a certain number of vehicles and certain people. There should be some rules. You cannot surround. I felt very bad about it. When I went into one of the national parks, 30, 40 vehicles surrounding 5 elephants. Everybody was taking pictures. I was thinking, what will happen when the vehicles are not there when they go to the next village? So
yeah, that's
those
true.
kind of
Like
things.
it's not about tourism and like how you make money.
Correct.
Like there is,
This is
as
it.
you said, like if you save chimpanzees, that's going to save humans. Likewise, if those wild animals are not being looked after, like we will not have an opportunity even for tourism.
And animals learn very fast. I mean, there is a beautiful conservation program in Uganda. It's a chimpanzee conservation project in the Kibale National Park, Kibale Forest. In the past, there have been a lot of incidents, poaching, and poachers kill a group of chimps or the mother chimp and take the baby chimp away and try to go and sell it to somebody as a pet. It's been going on, although the project has minimized it to a greater level. But the chimpanzees are learning that you are going as a human, taking their baby away. And not too long ago, there was an incident, 2 incidents, where chimpanzees attacked a village and took away 2 human babies. So what do you feel about that? When it happens to us, we think they broke the rule. How about us? We started the problem. Now they are learning from you. When the table turns the other way, then we blame. It's a big news that a chimpanzee attacked a village and took away a baby. How about these humans were taking away chimpanzee babies for a long time? That's how they filled all the zoos, all the circus industry, all the biomedical research stations. How did all the chimps get there? It's us wiping out a species and taking a baby out. So what I'm trying to say is they are evolving, and also as much as fragmentation takes place, wildlife and humans are forced to live side by side. So we are losing fear. The animals are not scared of humans anymore. They are coming very closer to us. And that's where the human-wildlife conflict begins.
Okay, so like I think we are celebrating the 30th year of Takugama, which I think like not in like Sierra Leone, like you are celebrating that here in Sri Lanka. So like, would you like to say something about that, and what is your future plans?
Definitely, that is probably the highlight of my trip, because as we begin to celebrate our 30 years, we don't have a footprint in this part of the world. Most of my work has been in Europe and America. All our supporters are from that part of the world. So as part of the celebration, we begin to do some events in Spain, then in Holland, Switzerland and London. But this so happened as a coincidence. I came to visit after 47 years. I brought 2 of my kids, and some good friends suggested, why don't we connect with some young people. So we met with some, I think, Young Zoological Society at the Daivala Zoo, and they really, I was impressed with what I saw, the kind of questions. And we actually started the celebration, the 30th anniversary celebration here. And I think it's a big moment for me after coming after 47 years, and I never thought this is where I'll kick off the 30th anniversary. So it was a very pleasant surprise, and I was really touched by it, and I'm very happy that it started here.
I think celebrating 30 years out of Sierra Leone, that is also something remarkable, and that being the country which you were born, that is also incredible. And there is some
Yeah, I think we live in a global village now.
Yes.
It's not we are not too far away from each other. Really.
Yeah, that's true.
In a way, I think it's about. It's not just if all the Sri Lankans got stuck here and only improve Sri Lanka, I don't think we will make a difference.
Definitely.
For global recognition, I think we need to spread out. So
it's
as a Sri Lankan, if I have gone out and planted some seed in another country, it is still glory and a good name for Sri Lanka,
Definitely.
I think. Yes.
We'll go for a quick break and come back
Yes.
in a while.
Every morning.
Okay, coming back again, from Bala Amarasekaran, the founder, or we can call him the creator of Takugama, the person who went from Sri Lanka at the age of 16 years, started with protecting or rescuing 1 chimpanzee, and today he has achieved a status of making chimpanzee the national animal of Sierra Leone and sanctuary for chimpanzees. So we are talking with Bala. So Bala, if you could leave one message to our young Sri Lankans watching today's program, what do you think would you like to share with your experience?
I think don't go like a saddle horse. Have a wider vision. Think that if Bala with no conservation background could do this, it's just because I found something that was meaningful, something that is not just about me and my family, it's also about for the common good. And if you find something like that, even on a daily basis, if you can do something good for the environment, or you want to do something that you really love, you have your passion, try to see how you can create that passion into work, and then that's the beautiful way of continuing with your life. Our time here on the planet is this small. Do something meaningful. I think that's probably the message I would like to give.
Okay, I think that's a very important message, and which has a lot of meaning inside that. And born in Sri Lanka, from Jaffna, you're basically. So I think you went back to Jaffna, and would you like to tell something about your memories and your tour to Jaffna after 47 years?
Yeah, it was very mind-blowing. I mean, I've already challenged myself because I've forgotten a lot of places. Things have changed. Lots of development has taken place. So when we went there, I told the vehicle driver, look, don't follow your GPS. Don't go with the tracking. I would like to recollect my memory. So I went to all the places without the navigator.
Oh, that's
yes,
interesting.
I really wanted to challenge myself because as a person born in Jaffna, even though you had your vehicle at home, our main mode of transportation is the bicycle. Mm-hmm. So as a kid, starting from 7, 8-year-old, going to school, going to places, everything is on a bicycle. So I really very well remember every corner within that landscape. And I realized that 47 years didn't mean anything. I could find every single corner, every single
Despite
place.
all these development and changes.
Everything. But that again shows that I didn't disconnect with the country. Although I was there, but I still kept contact.
Roots are still...
Roots are still there. It's just that I didn't have a reason to come. And now probably is the reason, to be honest. All these years with Sierra Leone being very volatile, excuse has always been, if I leave, something will happen to the project. But now kids are grown up, they're all adults, so they want to find their roots also. So it's one of the reasons also to bring them. Before I go, at least let me come and introduce them. This is the land, this is where I was born. You have your roots here.
I think that is something interesting, like where we as humans, like we go through our roots, like which sometimes animals,
yes,
we don't see that. Maybe I'm wrong. Like,
yes.
like, what's the one habit that like has helped you succeed for where you are today? Anything, one habit
think,
which you think?
Yeah, I think from something I learned from the chimp is being very resilient. Chimpanzees are like that. They will fight hard, they will hold on to hope, they know that they can continue to go on. That is something I learned from them. They are like that, they're very resilient. And the other thing is, again, as I said, connecting with people and convincing people to do something. And also, even with your worst enemy, my focus is always about how do you reconcile? How do you make him bring you? We focus more on that. How do you see reason? How do you, connect with the other person, even though he may be against it? These are some of the things I've done well over the years to convince the government. There are so many people trying to stop you at different levels, but you always don't hold the grudge. You try to be nice to them and try to bring them on board and get things going. This is how chimpanzees can have a very brutal fight today, and after 1 hour you will see the two individuals are sitting and nursing each other's wound and reconciling, which humans, we don't have it.
I think even humans, like the children has that ability. When we
Yes,
mature and grow, like I think we take
not
that natural
not at all.
quality
Yes.
out of it.
We harbor a lot of grudges, and chimpanzees don't.
Maybe that is like it's not coming from our internal thing, it's like from the society and like everything,
yes, that is true.
making the things bad. Like one question we would like to ask you, like if you could go back and give advice to your 16-year-old self before leaving Sri Lanka, what would you say?
I tell that to my kids all the time. I've just got 2 kids came with me. One has done construction management, the girl has done architecture, and I tell them, look, that's not a death sentence, that's just a qualification. What you want to do with your life is up to you. It's a wide open field. Use that experience, that's just a foundation. But follow something that you really like to do. That's the most important, that's the key. So as a 16-year-old, I think I will tell them that go in with a big dream, think that anything that makes you happy, that's the most important thing. Don't follow the other person, don't live up to the Jones, as they say. Try to see, what you like, what you're passionate about. How can you make that into your working space? How can you find that fine balance? I think that's probably what I would say. Don't focus because my parents want you to be a doctor. Yes, you can be a doctor, but that may be to satisfy your parents. That doesn't mean you need to get stuck in that field. Definitely. You can use all that knowledge and expertise to do something more, something that you like. And that's what I've done with my life.
Okay, I think that's a very good advice, and like I think decades of experience and decades of challenges and all that, I think we cannot summarize it in few minutes. No. Like here, like all good things has to go through an end. So like I think like before ending the program, I would like to ask you one final question. That is like, describe your life's journey in one sentence. What would that be?
I think I consider I had the opportunity to follow my dream, stay truthful to my commitment, and also not to be remembered as someone looked after his own family and his possessions, but did something for the common good. I'm leaving a legacy for Sierra Leone in terms of chimpanzee conservation. There was nothing like that 30 years ago. Now I think at least I feel happy to pass the torch to the next generation to say someone has laid the foundation. So I feel I've done something that will continue, because you've got the chimpanzee conservation to a level where the nation will take it as a pride to continue, and that's the best you can do. And I think I've got the chimpanzee conservation to a level where the government, even if I'm not there, or many individuals will step in. So people ask me that question, what happens after you? I said, I don't know, I don't care, because I think I've done something, they cannot let it go. Someone needs to continue.
I think you have built the machine, and
Yes.
like the system is there.
Right.
Like, so whether you are there or not, like the
Yeah.
system will continue, the machine is there, everything, all the...
If you think it's going to stop after you, you will start scaling it down.
Definitely.
Right? And you don't want to do that. I want to go till the last day as if there's more to do. So that's the way it will continue.
Yeah, so like I think that is what we need to consider, and like that's what we are proud of you, your achievements. It's not your personal achievement. I think that is something for the entire chimpanzees and to the entire humankind, for the entire environment, wildlife. Like there is a lot, and it's not like if a person from Sri Lanka living at the age of 16 can do these type of things, I think we as humans, we can do anything. Like there are endless possibilities.
Correct.
All we need is like how you think, and like our mind should be open. When ideas are there, but only thing, ideas will, or you being interested will not make things happen. Like you have to execute, and if you are committed, I think this is the best example which we have it in front of us. And I would like to thank Bala Amarasekaran, like for joining us today during your short visit to Sri Lanka, and I think you're going back to Sierra Leone. And it's not only Sierra Leone, like your legacy will continue throughout the world. And so would like to thank for all the efforts and congratulate for all your achievements. And we hope to see your efforts and all your contribution even in Sri Lanka, for whatever the way. I think this conversation which we had with Bala is like a great eye-opener for us, for all the youngsters who may be watching. Like, yes, you all too can do this. So finally, thank you very much. And we're like, let's see how we can take this from here onwards.
Thank you so much. And I'm really, really touched by the hospitality all Sri Lankans have shown to me in this short time. I'm cursing myself, why didn't I come early? But as I said, I couldn't. But now that I've started coming, I think I will definitely return in the near future. I'm really, really happy that I came back, and as if time stopped at some point. So I'm really happy.
Okay, then thank you very much. And finally,
thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Every morning